Uh, One of the very few things that are going to help you today. Question, do you believe we go as ourselves to heaven or our spirit goes to God's kingdom? Well, I see heaven as me. Yeah, I mean, your spirit is you. The body is just a shell. It's just a shell. But you're no longer in your body. You're still you. You still think like you. You still look like you. You still walk and talk and act like you. It's just a different type of body. And it's actually a much better one. There's no more sickness, no more death, no more pain. Oh, I can't say no more pain because I can't spirits. If you're going to go to hell, you're going to feel a lot of pain. But in heaven you won't. But your spirit body is exactly as your fleshly body, but without limitations. You no longer have the limitations that you have with the flesh body. It's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, you're still gonna be you. You're still gonna look like you. You're still gonna act like you. You're still gonna talk like you. It's just a change of, your soul right now is in a flesh being. It'll be in your spirit being when you give up the jacket. Aliens call human bodies jackets. They're trying to obtain jackets so they can put their own host, their own selves in and possess it. So you give up this jacket, you still have your own spirit, which is what makes you you. I don't know how else to say it. Imagine a twin of yourself. Put two pictures of yourself side by side, but one's actually a spirit, one's actually a physical body, because they look the same, they look identical. You just wouldn't notice the real difference until you took a look inside. You notice a human body has organs and all that, heart, liver, and all that, where a spirit body doesn't. The spirit body doesn't decay, where a human body does. I have no idea how many people have been locked out of this broadcast. I know some of you gave up. You just couldn't hear it anymore. It was being messed with on your end. And you know what? I just expect that, especially when you start talking. Spent the first 10-15 minutes before the show even was recorded talking about orgone. And they don't want you to hear about this stuff. They don't want you hearing about it. And you know what's amazing to me? That the government itself, who implements these chemtrail programs on the population to make them sick and give them this fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome and Morgellons plague and the bird plague and all these plagues that are being spread by these chemtrails purposely on the populations so they'll get them. A lot of these military people are ordering orgone from me because they know darn well what's going on and they want to protect their own families. So what's that tell you? It's almost just, Navy, Air Force, Marines, hear a lot from these guys. And they, their wives are buying orgone, they're getting their own neighborhoods on military bases with orgone, because they see what's going on with the chemtrails. And they want to protect themselves. I've sent orgone to governments, I've sent it to embassies, I've sent it to militaries, I've sent it to underground bases, I've sent it to addresses that don't exist. And what I mean is you can look on any map, and the address itself doesn't exist because that usually means it's a CIA location. CIA and the NSA, they always use addresses that you can't find on a map that officially don't exist. And the post offices somehow manage to get it to where it needs to be. But that's, all these people that are involved with these agendas, they know darn well what's going on, and they're protecting themselves with the orgone. And you know what, my orgone, the orgone the Lord showed us to make, is not the same as Don Croft's on the internet. If you go to Don Croft's website or anybody else's website on the internet or even eBay, they make dead orgone energy, and their orgone will hurt you, folks. It will hurt you, and I haven't really ever come out publicly against Don Croft, even though he knows darn well how I feel about him and the crap he makes. But he is opening up vortexes for alien and demonic beings to enter the earth. And with our orgone, we are closing the vortexes he's opening. And so, it's another battle, just another war. The 101 things orgone's doing, the orgone we're doing, we make does. And I've always said you can make dead orgone or you can make positive orgone. And we make positive, and they'll claim they do, but I'll tell you what, I've heard from hundreds of people, at least 100, associated with Don Croft, no longer associated with Don Croft, because they were hurt by his orgone, they lost their health, their pets were killed, their pets died unexplainably. They started having health problems. They noticed that they were getting all kinds of attacks. For 2 years I was in and out of a remote war with this guy. He would remote view into my house, and I could see them in my house. I can see into the spirit realm quite often. And I didn't want to do anything at that point because I knew who it was. And if it's a demon or an alien, I'll cast them into the abyss in 2 seconds. Don't necessarily like taking on humans that way. But enough was enough, and I just started warning him, if you come back to my house, I'm going to have you bound and cast into the abyss just like the aliens and demons. I'm sick of fooling with you. I just got tired of fooling with humans remote viewing into my house. But that's what they do. They start a campaign against you and try to sit there and remote view into your house, and then what they do is try to some kind of psychopathically or telepathically induce you into having a heart attack or a stroke or cancers or whatever. I'm not sure what they do. Because there's be more than just spying. There's not a whole lot to spy on, just watching somebody work on a computer. And so this is what happens, folks. And when you mess with that whole crowd, you're eventually going to end up with the same thing that all these other people have. And everybody who gets near these Don Croft orgone forums and stuff has experienced these kind of attacks. Attacks on their privacy, attacks into their home, remote viewing attacks. Or just what the bad orgone creates, killing their animals, taking their good health away. And so I would suggest, and all of the websites online that, all these other orgone sites, they make it the way Don Croft tells them to. And Don Croft is an NSA agent. His wife is a witch, and she doesn't hide it. She's a self-proclaimed witch. Don Croft has talked about it many times himself. And they're hurting people, folks, with their orgone they make. So stay away from that. Stay away from that. The directions to making good positive orgone are on my site at orgoneblasters.com or tearingdownstrongholds.com. And you can make it yourself. You can make it yourself so you can make darn sure that the orgone you're getting hasn't been cursed. That they haven't put cursed water in it or cursed products in it. That they haven't sabotaged the orgone. But this is exactly what they do. And thus creating this dead orgone energy, and they use it to open up vortexes for these aliens and demonic entities. And that's why California is such a mess, because, Don Croft has traveled that state from one end to the other, putting his dead orgone energy all over that state. And, what we need is some of the Lord's warriors to stand up and go do that state from one end to the other with positive orgone energy to combat the mess he's created out there. He's just creating one mess from one end of the world to the other. And so that's just a whole other aspect of the orgone war we're in. There's just so many different battles going on at any one time, so many different fronts that we have to deal with. And so I'm just making you aware of that because I get so many emails from people asking me about Don Croft and his orgone, and, I'm telling you, it will hurt you, it will destroy you. Stay away from it. And that goes to all the people that make it the way he leads and instructs them to make it. And you can make it yourself, like I said. It's not about, I want all the business. I'm not in this for the business. I'm not in this as a business. Or I wouldn't have the directions on my website where you can make it yourself. Simply trying to save lives here, folks, and do what we can to save the earth, in these last days. Because, martial law's coming to America, terrorist attacks are coming,